G'day everyone, Daniel Anderson here. Welcome to this deep dive session where we're going to dive deep into some new triggers in Power Automate for messages in Teams. Now, they're called for selected message triggers, and what that allows you to do is select a message in Teams and then do something in Power Automate. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a simple trigger that for any selected message, we're going to create a SharePoint list item. All right, and we're going to have a look at a few different things that we can do and we can achieve with that trigger. All right. So we're going to tie this into Microsoft Lists, all right? So you can see here that I'm on the Lists homepage or dashboard, and I've already created from a template the issues register list, all right? And it's part of the 365 project site. So if we just open up this now, you can see here, stock standard list, nothing special, just from the template that Microsoft Lists provides, all right? Now, what we want to do is, you can see here, I've also got our Microsoft team created here, and I've got the 365 project team open here, and we're just going to use a message here as an example. Now, I'm now going to just switch back over to Power Automate, and what we're going to use is we're going to use a trigger. And I'm going to search for this template here. It's called create an item from a message. And let's just have a look at that. Now, what you can see here is there's a pre-configured template here that integrates with Teams and SharePoint. All right, so we're going to use that one. So we're going to start with this template for us. So you can see here that we've got our connections. It's going to create our connections for us to Teams and to SharePoint, and we're just going to build that out. Now, you can see here on the screen, we've got the first trigger here for a selected message. So that's going to mean we can click on the three little dots in the Teams message and we can take action on that. You can see here that we've got the ability here to edit an adaptive card. We're going to come back to that because there's some pretty cool things that we can do there. The second item here that you can see is that we're going to create an item in a SharePoint list. Now, let's go ahead and configure that now. So what we're going to do, we're going to select the 365 project site, and we're going to select the issues register list. All right, so there we go there. It's going to pick up all the columns for us, and we can then start to build out our flow, add some values in each of the columns here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take out, first of all, this plain text message here from Teams. I'm just going to put a title in here. It's going to be just a text-based at the moment. We're going to change that. Now, in the issue description box here, this is where I want to place the contents of the message in Teams. And I'm going to choose the plain text message content in this case. I'm going to set just a couple of other options here. In the issues register, we're just going to go new and low, and that will do us for now. And this next part of the flow here is what's going to happen here is after I initiate the trigger, after it creates that item in the SharePoint list, what the flow bot is going to do inside Teams is going to send me back a message to say that it has been successful and the item's been created with a link back to that item. All right, so let's just go ahead now, and what we might do is just rename this, and I'm just going to rename it to create an issue, and let's now save that. Okay, I can see here there's an item here that we need to just remove, and we'll just save that off now. Okay, so there we go. We've now got a flow for a selected message called create an issue. Now, let's jump into Teams. I'm just going to refresh my browser here, and let's now see how we can initiate this flow. So I'm going to hover over this message, and let's say I want to take action. I want to create a list item, or in our case, I want to create an issue in our issues list from this item. So after I click on the three little dots under the more actions option here, you can see here that I've got now an action that says create an issue. So if I now go ahead and create this issue, you can see that a little dialog box comes up, and that's that first trigger that we saw. And I can add some notes in here if I want to, but we're not using that at the moment. So let's just go ahead and submit that, and we're going to adjust that in just a sec. Now that I've submitted that, what's going to happen, you can see I've now got a message, a chat message here. So let's just now jump into here, and you can see now that Flow has sent me a card, and you can see here's the contents of that. The SharePoint item has been successfully created, and I can click and I can go straight to that item if I wish. But I'm going to jump up to here, and I'm just going to refresh this list, and let's have a look at what's been created. So there's the list item here. Now, when I go to open that, I can see that I've got the issue description here, and here I've got the contents of that message in the issue box here. Okay, so that's all triggered. It's created the issue, and that's all good. Now, let's now just take a look. We're going to adjust this flow a little bit. So let's have a look at what we can do with that form that gets popular or is presented when you go and initiate that flow. Now, what we can do straight in the Power Automate UI here is we can adjust and create this adaptive card. All right. So we might want to prompt the user for a title of the list item, let's say. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to place an input box at the top. We're also going to place a text box just above that, input box. Now, we're going to change the text of this, input the list item title, and we're going to just, let's move that up. Actually, let's move it up above the, we want to move that up there. There we go. Now, the input box, we need to give this an ID so we can reference that in our flow. So I'm just going to give that an ID of text title. Let's now input the list item title here. And we are now going to save that card. All right. Now that we've got that title as part of that form, I want to use that title now. So whatever the user inputs, I want to use that title to be the name of to be the title of the list item. So what we can do here is use this dynamic data, and we can now reference that title. You can see here that I've got the option here to insert that option there. So I've now got that set. I'm going to keep the description there, and we're just going to now save that off. All right, so let's save that, and let's now test our flow. So I'm just going to jump back into Teams. I'm going to jump back into this section here, and what I want to do now is I'm just going to trigger that flow again. All right, so let's go create an issue. What we should see now is that I can now input the title. This is the issue, and I'm just going to submit that now. All right, so let's now submit that. You can see that the flow has now pulled that back and given me a message to say it's been successfully created. I've now got, let's just refresh this as well. I've now got this one here where I've got this is the issue, and the title has been added and inserted to the title of the list item now. All right. So let's now expand on that a little bit further and see what else we can do. So I'm just going to jump back into the flow here. I'm just going to edit this adaptive card now, and you can see here that we've got notes, and the notes here, the ID is SharePoint List Item ID. All right. So I'm just going to change that to item notes, and let's now save that card. Now what I want to do here is I want to change this, and what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down the bottom here, and we're going to insert the item notes to the issue description. Okay, the other thing we're going to do is, you can see here that I've got a column here, which in the list is actually a hyperlink column. So if I jump back into the list here, you can see here that I've got this column here, which is actually a link column. So what I did, I've created a new column of the hyperlink type. Now, how I'm going to use that is I'm going to now put in the link to the Teams message and populate that as a hyperlink. All right, so let's now save that. Now let's have a look and see what we get here. So back into Teams, back into this channel. Let's now trigger this flow, create an issue, and let's now put in the list item title. This is super important. These are the additional notes, and let's now submit that. All right, so we've now submitted that. We've got confirmation from the Flowbot here. It's given us that success. Now let's jump back into the list. We've now got this one here, and you can see that now, instead of the message description that's been posted, I've got the notes that I entered into that text box that come through as the issue description. Now, you remember that we posted the message link as well. So what we can see here is I've now got a hyperlink to that Teams message. So I'm just going to cancel this out. I'm going to use the web app, all right? And I'm taken directly to that message inside Teams. It's highlighted yellow, and I'm taken directly to that spot, all right? So now we've got a link to the message. We're now populating using the title and the notes section of that adaptive card. When I trigger the flow, I'm inserting that information now into the list item inside of SharePoint, and I've got a link back to that message now too. All right, so there's lots of different options. I hope that's starting to generate some practical ideas for you now that you can start to implement into your Teams environment, into a SharePoint list, and bring some value. And you can then take it outside of Teams. You can do some actions and track that information inside of a SharePoint list as well. You could also expand on this adaptive card that gets posted back as a success message inside of Teams as well. So you remember, if I jump back into the chat, the Flowbot actually sends me this adaptive card back when that when that list item has been created. So we can do some customization around that as well. All right. And then you could build out this flow even further if we wanted to. So if I jump back into this adaptive card, I could also set, input a choice set here, which I could then tie into maybe the status, for example. All right, so I could use that form. I could set the status of the list item automatically directly from within Teams as well. All right, so I hope that brings you some value. That's a great deep dive. First look at the what's called a for a selected message trigger inside of Flow that you can utilize from within Teams, and you can then post a list item into a SharePoint list. Stay tuned for the next episode. I'm going to do another deep dive into another one of these for a selected message trigger. So stay tuned for that. This episode is also going to be a part of the Microsoft Lists Masterclass that I've created and I continually update inside of cloud-driven-business-academy.com. So if you haven't registered for that, head on over there. There's 7 modules at the moment. This makes 8. So head over there and you can have lifetime access to that masterclass. I'm going to be continually updating that class with different modules. Thanks for watching. See you next time.